Hello, everyone from Chelsea Fan TV. I hope you're all doing very, very well. It is, it's wonderful to have clarity. I think one of the best things in the world is having clarity. You might not like what's happening, you might not agree with it, but there's nothing worse than not actually knowing why something's happened or what's happened behind the scenes and who did this and who did that. You know, we end up making up these conspiracies and saying things that aren't necessarily true, but we have to come to our own conclusion because that's all we have to lean on. We don't have the real information. We don't have any statements. We don't have an understanding of what's really going on. But now we have some clarity. So let's speak about Enzo Maresca. Let's speak about him leaving Chelsea halfway through the season, dropping us in the shit. No other way to describe it other than that. What Enzo Maresca did when he left Chelsea, he left a ship that was stable, a ship that was competing, beat Barcelona 3-0. He'd won a Club World Cup with the squad. He'd won the Conference League with the squad. We had Champions League qualification. Life was stable. I'm not going to sit here and say it was amazing. There's a lot of things that could have been better, but we were stable. Yeah, and I think stability in football is underrated, especially when you went, if you're a Chelsea fan watching this, what we went through last season, I don't want that again. And that is where stability is very, very important. So Maresca decided to leave, and we came to our conclusions. My conclusion was that he left because he doesn't want to work with these bums. He doesn't want to work with Clearlake. He doesn't want to work with Winstanley, Stewart, all of these numpties upstairs. They're still numpties, by the way, even with some of the clarity that we've got, and we'll get into that. And there's me thinking that Maresca, as much as I was upset that he left, I almost felt like his hand was forced. I have to resign. I don't have any control over anything anymore. And so we had the club statement that Chelsea have released. And so let's go through it and see what's been said. Chelsea FC appreciates the 25-26 season was a hugely disappointing one for the club and for its supporters. A major contributing factor was the disruption caused as a result of changes that the club was forced to make to the head coach position over the Christmas period. Due to recent developments, we consider that it is important to explain to our supporters what happened and why our former head coach left the club on the 1st of January 2026. I completely forgot it was New Year as well, by the way, because obviously a lot of people would have been out partying, myself included. I'm getting these notifications going, what's going on here? And then the next morning he left. Anyway, let's continue. In autumn last year, the club was informed by our former head coach that there might be an opportunity for him to succeed Pep Guardiola at the end of the season. It became clear to us that it was his strong desire to succeed Guardiola, and he was fully committed to pursuing the opportunity, despite the fact he was under a long-term contract which he had no right to terminate. In December 2025, our head coach unexpectedly and abruptly resigned from his position. Obviously, we felt let down as we believed that his head and heart were focused on another club and another opportunity, despite having just arrived at Chelsea the year before. No club wants to change its head coach midway through a season. However, in light of his decision not to continue fulfilling his responsibilities through to the end of the season, the club was left with no choice but to protect our players, our supporters, and the badge, and accept his resignation. In the circumstances, and given the mutual respect between clubs, a confidential settlement has been reached with Manchester City, which includes the payment of compensation. A confidential settlement has also been reached with the former head coach, under which he will pay compensation. Looking forward to next season. In Xabi Alonso, we have a manager who has an exceptional football mind and is a professional of the highest integrity. He has all the attributes to deliver the success the club supporters deserve and expect. So I think it's really, really interesting when they speak about the settlement and the payment of compensation. So it's not only Man City that are paying Chelsea, it's also Enzo Maresca that is paying Chelsea. And you're probably thinking, why would he do that? You know, how can you pay a former employee? Like you don't have to pay them back when you leave a job role. But we've had a statement from Enzo Maresca as well, and he has he has spoken about this issue, and he has addressed it as well. So let's have a look at the Maresca statement and see what he says. At the end of December 2025, I made the difficult decision to leave Chelsea. The decision was only mine. My resignation from Chelsea opened a path for me to join Manchester City, which is a club I knew very well. I am ecstatic that I have now joined Manchester City. I recognize that my departure from Chelsea in the middle of the season caused disruption for the club, and I apologize for that. It was neither my intention nor my wish. I was treated well by everyone at Chelsea, and together we achieved great success and memories that I will always treasure. I am grateful to the club, the owners, and the fans for giving me the opportunity. So here's the key point here. The decision was only mine. My resignation from Chelsea opened a path for me to join Manchester City. So, I mean, I've heard the argument already. Well, why are you believing the Blue Coat PR? Hello? Enzo Maresca has come out and said this himself. This is not coming from Blue Coat. This is now coming from an employee of Man City. He didn't have to say this. He could have still denied it. He decided to own up to the fact that what he did sabotaged our season. He recognizes that it caused disruption for the club. He apologizes for it. But where he is a little bit disingenuous, he says, it was neither my intention nor my wish. Well, you know, Enzo, that when a club loses its manager or its head coach, in our case, midway through the season, that is going to throw the whole project into turmoil. It's going to fuck up the players. It's going to have a lot of media attention that's going to put the fans up, their backs up. What the hell's going on with my football club? It disrupts recruitment. It disrupts the running of the club as a whole. But most importantly, it affects results. And Maresca, if he was still here, I can't guarantee whether we'd be in the Champions League. I can't guarantee that. But what I can guarantee is we would be in a much better position than we finished off with Liam Rossigna and McFarlane, right? We would be in a much better position, potentially even having a trophy in our hands, which I don't think is a crazy thing to say because we won 2 trophies the season prior with Enzo Maresca, and when he left, we were still in every major competition. We were in the Carabao Cup, we were in the FA Cup, we had the Champions League knockouts to play for, and we were still in the race for European football, i.e. Champions League. So many things could have been different if Maresca had just been relatively honourable. Like, we're not asking for the world here. A little bit of honour, yeah? Antonio Conte left Chelsea. He had problems with Chelsea in his second season after he won the league because he wasn't backed. What did he do? He stayed. He wasn't happy. He stayed. He won an FA Cup. Left us in a good position, a better position, all right, than if he would have left mid through the season and we could have capitulated with someone else. And I just think that It's very eye-opening when you get an apology from a manager in this situation. But I mean, apologies mean nothing. We wanted compensation. Chelsea wanted that, and they got it. They were going to receive £17 million for Enzo Maresca from Man City, and there's going to be an undisclosed settlement from the manager himself. And I can imagine that would be in and around £1 million, maybe £500,000, because Maresca's contract wasn't that big. He was on about 4 or 5 mil a year. So I can imagine halfway through the season, let's call it £1 million, maybe even 2 million, to be fair, because that would have been, yeah. It's fully, he understands that he has to pay that as well, because the guy's getting a massive pay rise at City. There's nothing wrong with taking opportunities, but it's the way you do it. And that's where Maresca's been wrong in this situation. We also had a statement that's come out from Man City. So let's see what Man City have had to say about this whole scenario. Enzo Maresca has long been regarded by the club as a candidate within our succession planning. As a former successful coach within our system, Enzo has a strong relationship with the club's leadership, and he understands how we work and evolve. We can confirm that confidential conversations took place between select representatives of City and Enzo Maresca in autumn and winter of 2025, while he was Chelsea FC's head coach, regarding the possibility of him returning to City in a transitional leadership coaching capacity should Pep Guardiola decide to leave. We acknowledge Chelsea's statement regarding the context of Enzo's departure from Chelsea. We also acknowledge the context in which permission for discussions were given. And we recognize that his departure mid-season was disruptive to Chelsea's season. So again, it just confirms what we've heard from Maresca. He did us dirty. The guy did us dirty, and we were screwed because of it. We were absolutely screwed. So what is there to be done? Not much. Compensation and probably a lively atmosphere when Enzo Maresca returns to Stamford Bridge. I don't expect him to have a warm welcome anymore, which is a real shame, because Maresca was a key part of the transition of this Chelsea side from going to, not only being in European football after missing a year, but actually being able to win trophies and beat some top sides as well, like PSG in the Club World Cup. But it's changed my perspective, guys. It has changed my perspective. I used to think that Maresca was not really in the wrong. I mean, I know that he sabotaged our season, but I was like, what else are you going to do, man? This is ridiculous. But now I know it was purely for the reason of getting that Man City role. I have to say I'm very disappointed, and I've got nothing more to add really than that. And I feel like, in terms of a manager, if you have any class or respect for yourself, any integrity, in fact, it was important. Chelsea mentioned when they spoke about Xabi Alonso, they spoke about integrity. Well, we need some, because we got so many issues, and yeah, we've got to rebuild. But yeah, big thumbs down for Enzo Maresca. Big thumbs down. And all those people who was saying he was a snake and he wasn't loyal and this and the other, you are right. You're correct. What Enzo Maresca did was disgusting in hindsight, pathetic, unprofessional, and just the low of lows in terms of professional football and the way that works. You see it with players that want to get moves. They force moves, and that's fine. And there's sometimes reasons for that. But as a manager, it's totally different. You can survive without a player. But when you lose your manager, that affects everything around the football club. Let me know what you think, if you agree or disagree with anything that has happened or anything that's been said. Do you think the compensation is good enough? I personally think it's fair. And I think it's interesting that Maresca is also paying Chelsea back as well. And if you agree or disagree with anything I've said as well, let me know in the comments. But we'll be back soon. And yeah, what a crazy story.